welcome to another tutorial video with some modular synth tips and tricks. Today I'm going to be talking about generative music, specifically with the Squarp Hermod. A lot of people know about the Hermod and that it's a really powerful sequencer, but what a lot of people don't know is that its effects section makes it really, really useful in a small setup for doing some generative music. So today I'm going to talk about just how to chain some of those things together, and it was a little non-intuitive in my opinion, but once you get it figured out, you can do some really, really cool things without needing external modules. So a lot of people for generative music use things like transposers, scalers, things that will take a random signal and put it in a fixed scale, taking what are kind of noisy bleeps and bloops and turning them into music like we would be more accustomed to with Western music, and that go better with other, keyboard and instrumental accompaniment. So I'm going to talk through how to take a random signal, put it on a scale, and then add some of the other effects to really create some music that can evolve over time, that doesn't repeat itself, and can hopefully lay under a bed of other instruments to be a really unique part of your production. So let's get started. So first we're going to talk about the CV and gate inputs. These A, B, C, and D, they can be configured to do a lot of things, but configuring those is kind of the key to getting this figured out for me. So if you go in track layout here, hit Y, and come down to CV in. So you can set up which inputs you want to drive which specific tracks. So in this case, I have track 6, which the output of that is going to the pitch of my Moog grandmother, which is kind of off camera here. And the CV and gate into that are coming from the LFO set to a square wave and a sample and hold. So I've got random voltages coming into the CV for pitch. So that's just putting out random pitches. And I've got the gate coming in every time that clocks. So that is always going to track 6 right there. So that will always be going through. So in track view, you don't have to have the track enabled to have that actually playing. So let me bring the volume up on that right now. So here you can hear it with a bunch of effects applied to it already. I have a chance. Let's make sure I'm on the right track. Nope. That is track 6. Okay. So I have a chance and a scale. So if I pull that scale off, you can hear how the pitches just kind of wander. They kind of go all over the place. It's not really musically useful. If I play something under this, it'll just sound like random bleeps and bloops. It might be useful for an R2D2 kind of thing if I take the rate of that LFO up, but not really useful for music. So the trick here was, again, setting the track input on that track, and then once you have the input, you can use any of the effects, and one of the most useful for generative music, in my opinion, is scale. So you can click on it, you can edit it, you can set major, minor, key, you can transpose, all of those things. So when I turn that on, it's subtle because it's bouncing around the scale, but it's definitely locked. So if I play like a root C note, which I have set, you can hear how it all kind of starts to gel together. So you can note I had the C note playing on the Hermod, but since we're clocking that separately, it's doing its own notes, the rate doesn't have to be running. So as long as you have that CV in and out, you can have it do its own thing, totally independent of the Hermod, or you can clock it from the Hermod or clock it to the Hermod. You have lots of options. Again, the real trick here, in my opinion, I'll turn that volume down, is to get the CV in set to the channel you want. Use the scale, and then once you have that scale running, you can use effects like chance to have it play every other note, so you'll get a lot of repeats. So you can say 50% chance, or so instead of playing a different note, it'll just kind of lock onto that last note. So you can use chance, you can use delays, arpeggiators, any of those cool effects. Another thing you can do, so coming back in track mode, on track 4 I have a Yamaha FM synth that's actually MIDI, so it doesn't have to be CV gate. You can use this type of scaling with any of your MIDI synth modules or synths as well. Come in, select CV in, go down to track 4 and set it to gate CD, which is where I have that running in. Let's see. So you can see here I actually have a chain already set up that scales it to that same C major. It's taking that same signal. It's adding harmony, so it's actually taking the scaled pitch, so whatever it lands on, and playing a fifth of that. So you can see I've got 7 semitones up, which is the fifth. And then I have it set to chance here, so it's only playing like 7% is what I think that is, 7% of the notes. So you get this randomized. And, you can increase the percentage and make it. So really, you can dial those things into taste, and even with the effects inputs, you can vary those with an LFO. You can vary those with a MIDI control signal, so you could match that to, or map that to your mod wheel and increase the frequency that those things hit. It's very, very flexible. I think I've just kind of scratched the surface, and I really wanted to show off this setup. So let's go back to track 4. You can turn on delays, MIDI delays. Beat off each other, and once you put the tonal C major under it, you can hear it really start to develop into. Then I can add some other ambient stuff, like with some other effects off camera. Cool. Yeah, so that's kind of the basics. We may still get a little pulse coming through because the LFO is still running wild. But yeah, that's the basics. Taking your CV input, mapping them to a channel, and being able to scale that. And then you can use any of the chants. You can use any other CV inputs or MIDI inputs to modulate those via the effects matrix. If you click Y right here, you can map any effect. Yeah, there's one of those little stray beats that's still happening. You can map any CC or any CV in to kind of most effects parameters. And I feel like that makes this sequencer not just a simple sequencer, which is what most people know it for, and a really, really powerful tool for creating these generative, crazy, unpredictable type patches. So I hope this helps someone out there. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Thanks so much.